Having spent recent years tracking just over 500 brands, businesses, organisations, looking at the distinction between those that are achieving enduring relevance and success in comparison with those that are falling by the wayside, I'm amazed at the differences, the distinctions between the enduring versus the endangered. What are the habits, the practices, the focuses of those enduringly relevant businesses or brands? And while there are a number of factors at play, one of the consistent things is that enduringly relevant brands focus on alignment. As they adapt and evolve and change, they make sure that what they're doing and how they're doing things never gets out of alignment with who they are and why they're in business. To put it simply, enduringly relevant brands are constantly willing to recalibrate. It's a bit like, I remember when I was in Scouts as a younger kid, we'd go off into the wilderness. We'd be dropped off on a Friday and they'd give us a map and a compass and our supplies and say, we'll meet you on Sunday at these grid coordinates. But we were trained before we set off on our 2.5-day journey, navigating through the wild bush. The first thing we had to do was make sure our compass and our map were calibrated. Because, of course, the difference between magnetic and true north meant that it didn't matter if we had the best compass in the world, the best map in the world, if they didn't line up. If they weren't in alignment, we would wander off track gradually over time and end up somewhere very different to where we thought we were going. And it's exactly the same in businesses. Businesses that wander off track, organisations that lose their way, at some point typically have got out of alignment. They've lost sight of what their core DNA is, I guess what their true north is. I mean, look at Kodak. Kodak, I think, is a brilliant example of a company, a brand that got out of alignment. They fell into the trap that so many successful businesses do, where somewhere in the middle of the 1900s, they started to define themselves by the products they sold and the markets they were operating in, and lost sight of who they were and why they were in business in the first place. Because if you think about it, from the company's inception, Kodak was in the memory preservation business. And somewhere in the middle of last century, they started to see themselves as being in the film business, which worked fine as long as we all kept buying film. Now, as soon as it became clear that film was on the way out in the mid-70s, if at that point Kodak had recalibrated, they could have asked the question, how do we help our customers preserve their memories in a post-film era? Now, they didn't ask that question. Generally, the question was, the dominant mentality was, how do we make sure our customers keep buying film even when they don't have to do so? Now, of course, the first question, if they'd asked that question, how do we help our customers preserve their memories in a post-film era, they'd be in a very different place today. Because if you think about it, Kodak should have pioneered digital photography. They invented the first digital camera. They should have pioneered online photo sharing. They should have pioneered cloud-based file backup services, but they missed each of those boats because they were so focused on one product offering, and that was film. Now, can I urge you, don't fall into the trap that Kodak did. Don't make the mistake of defining yourself by what you do and how you do things, and in doing so lose sight of who you are and why you're in business in the first place. The challenge I want to put to you is this: what business are you really in? This is such a key question to make sure you stay in alignment. I remember recently working with a group of hotel and bar licensees, and I put this question to them: what business are you in? What is your core DNA? Interestingly, they said, well, we're in the food and beverage business. And I said, but are you? I said, because if I go into one of your restaurants or bars and I buy a glass of wine, I know full well I could go down the street to the liquor store and buy a whole bottle of that same wine for the same price I just spent on a glass in your bar. So why the difference? Why am I willing to pay that premium? It's because you've created an atmosphere or an experience that I perceive as valuable. And I said to them, I said, you guys, you're in the atmosphere, the experience business. That's the business you're in. Food and beverage is just one way you do it. And so I want to put the same question to you. What business are you in? What's your core DNA? What is your true north? If you want to last the distance and win the battle to stay relevant over the long haul, make sure you stay in alignment with that.